What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Dante here. Today we're going to be going through the most valuable VSL funnel training you have ever seen. I'm not an arrogant person, but I do believe in that. This is a process that took us 5 years to develop internally. This is what we use as our SOP, never giving it out to anybody. So what exactly we're going to cover is the tech needed, the assets required, the actual full build, but more importantly, the neuroscience behind this. Why are humans making the decisions they're making when they're going through your funnel? Because most people say, hey, slap these designs together, use this tech stack, and that's fine. But if you don't understand why humans are making buying decisions, you can't really cater to them. So my disclaimer to you is I want you to be very, very careful with how you use this information. I do not want to be responsible for you selling a bad product and using all the stuff I'm going to tell you to do so. So make sure that you are an ethical human being and you use this to sell a good product that actually helps people. With that said, let's dive into the psychology behind this before we actually go into how to build it. So first and foremost, what the fuck is a funnel? I'm just going to be very blunt with you guys. So many people say, hey, build a VSL funnel, a webinar funnel, a low ticket funnel, and they don't explain what the foundation of a funnel even is. So this is in my words what a funnel is. I'm going to break it down. Every sale that has ever happened, online, offline, 1,000 years ago, yesterday, followed the same sequence. Someone went from not knowing you exist to knowing to caring to trusting you to then buying. It's not a fancy marketing concept. That's just how humans make decisions. So a funnel is you engineering that sequence instead of leaving it to chance. Simply put, a lot of people try to confuse this. That is what you're doing. You're engineering this process of someone not knowing who you are to then learning something about you, trusting you, you tack in some social proof, your process. People then feel open, they book a call or they buy something. It's literally that simple. The reason though I think people get confused is they think from everybody that's spewing nonsense online that a funnel is a tech stack. It's ClickFunnels, GHL, HubSpot, a landing page connected to an email sequence, blah, blah, blah. That's like saying a conversation is a phone. Obviously that's not the case, right? The phone is just the tool that allows you to actually have the conversation. So I'm going to boil this down and give you an example. If we strip all of this way down, if you were sitting across from a stranger at a coffee shop, let's say you pull up a chair, you go sit down, never seen this person in your life. You're trying to get them to work with you. Let's say you're pitching, I don't know, let's say you have a marketing company, right? And you're trying to pitch them on, hey, I'll build you a VSL funnel. If that person doesn't know who you are and you just say, hey, so what's your credit card number? Let's get started. They're obviously going to think you're a psychopath, right? But if you follow a natural order that we went through, you get their attention, you make them realize you have a problem, or they have a problem rather. You show them you understand it better than they do, and you articulate it better than they can. You present your solution, then you ask for a commitment. That's the order, right? That's how humans will make a buying decision. So if you try to skip steps within this and you scramble the order, you're going to lose that stranger. So the reason this is really, really important, by the way, is a lot of people think they get a false signal that they're really good at marketing because they have a ton of warm traffic, but every time they try to go cold, they can't close anything. And it's because they don't understand the things that we're talking about right here. And to show you an example of this, I'm going to show you the larger market formula. This larger market formula essentially represents any given market. So if you sell something in a specific niche, think of this as the people that are actually in your buyer pool, if you will. Most people only tap into this 3% right here. So these are people that the consumer, they want to buy right now. Like, you don't have to help them overcome any objections. You don't have to walk them through the stuff we just talked about. They know they want to buy right now. That's the 3%, the easiest people to close. Warm, hot traffic. Info gathering mode, this is 17%. Some people tap into this. If you're decent, these are like more the mid-sized businesses. And these are people, consumers, that are saying, I know that I want this solution, but the info gathering part is they're like price shopping, they're looking at different business models, they're trying to figure out who they should go with, looking at reviews, right? So if you can overcome the 17% of people, you're going to have a much bigger business. 20% of people are problem aware, but they're not solution aware, right? So what that means is they're like, oh, I have this issue, but I don't really know that I could go buy something. So they're not quite in info gathering mode. These are the people that you have to hold up a mirror and be like, hey, you have this problem and there is a solution to fix that, right? If you can tap into that 20%, you're going to be a much bigger business because a lot of people struggle to do this. 60% of the market, typically obviously these are averages, are not even problem aware, meaning they don't know that they have a problem and they also don't know that there's a solution. So these are the people that you have to nurture these people extremely well, right? Because to get someone to understand that they have a problem, you have to get over their ego. You have to ultimately get them to drop their guard and then get them to admit, oh man, I do have that problem, or this could be an issue for me, right? So when you think of your market and you think of how you're going to grow, this is how I want you to view it. Like, this is the easiest 3%, and this is where most people get stuck. But if you understand the stuff we're talking about today, that's where you can tap into the 17%, this 20%, and the 60%, which is really critical if you want to build a big business. So to give you guys an example, I talked about, looking at the man in the mirror. You are essentially, when someone goes through your funnel, you are quite literally holding up a mirror, just to visualize this, to the consumer. So they go through your funnel, they click it, they go to your landing page. The whole goal of this is you want to speak to them, right? You're not talking to 150 people, 1,000 people a month to click on that thing. You're talking to one person. So how do I get inside that person's head and better articulate their pain than they can, so that they then think, okay, if this person understands my pain this well, they obviously have a solution. They have something that's going to help me. That's what you want them to be thinking. So visualize this. The consumer is holding up a mirror and they're looking at it and be like, damn, I do have that issue, right? That's essentially the goal. Now, here's another representation for you guys. If you take the responsibility and you think about it from this frame, I promise you it's going to help you when you're actually making funnels. If you think of right now your consumer, they're over here, right? So let's just draw a little. That was terrible. But let's just say this is a human over here, okay? And they're stuck. Like, this is bad territory. This is not where they want to be. And this is the good territory. This is where they do want to be. It becomes your sole responsibility to build a bridge and help them get over it so that they can get over to this good side. Because what's going to happen if they don't work with you and they go work with somebody bad, or they don't find a solution, is eventually they're going to fall down this canyon. Right? So whether it's weight loss, whether it's you solving a marketing problem, whether it's you're a sales organization, whatever you do, tax related stuff, it doesn't matter. This is how you have to view this. And I promise you it's going to force you to take this more seriously and make sure that whatever you're writing in terms of your copy, whatever visuals you're using, whatever case studies you're going to use, whatever VSL you're going to script, you're going to be a lot more intentional in knowing I need to help this person. And if I don't, I can't sleep at night because they're going to go through this exact process where they're going to work with somebody bad, or they're not going to find a solution and eventually they're going to slip down this canyon. They're going to go broke. They're not going to lose the weight, so on and so forth. There's a very good frame to keep when you're thinking about designing your funnels. Now, I'm going to give you guys, this is something we use internally. This is an absolute cheat code. It's one of the simplest things that you can do, and almost nobody talks about this. So many people, when they're going to market something, whether this is like you making ads, you making organic content, you building a funnel, they think that it's 20% research, 80% execution, and it's actually the exact opposite. So when you're doing anything marketing related, for the most part, in my opinion, 80% needs to go into having context and understanding the consumer that you're selling to. 20% is going to go into the actual execution of whatever that thing is. So in this case, if you can't clearly articulate by writing a memo what you're doing, then you shouldn't be executing. So we didn't come up with this, to be clear. Steve Jobs used to do this a lot, and other really, really good leaders, I guess you want to call them, and people that have run massive organizations. Their whole goal is how do we dumb everything down to first principle thinking and not overcomplicate the process. So I actually got this from Sharon, who's the president of acquisition.com with Hormozy, and we started using this, I want to say like 4 months ago. It's been a game changer. So a memo, I just want you to think of this as like a quick note that you're going to make. And the goal is you're going to map out why, so the stakes. So why is this important? Why is it important right now? What, the problem and the opportunity at 30,000 foot view. How, which is the proposed solution. So what are you actually going to do? The mechanics behind that, the risks is also really important too. And then now, the specific recommendation. So what specific actionable steps are we going to do right now? And if we only did a few things, these are them. So 1, 2, 3, right? You can cater this, right? So if you want to dumb things down even more and just do like, why are we building something? What's the purpose? How are we going to build it? And then what do I need to execute on at the moment? You could do that. You don't have to go through all these little mechanics and risk mitigation, but I recommend you do. What's going to happen when you write this or someone on your team writes this is when you go through the process, you're going to realize like, oh, I don't actually know what I'm doing, or I don't fully understand this thing, or they're going to answer their own question. They might have a question. They're going to go through and write this out, and they're going to answer it. So that's the point of writing a memo, is getting clear, actionable thoughts down on paper so that you can execute properly. Because if you don't have this nailed down, this is the foundation, everything else is going to suffer. So take the time to write these and do not execute until you feel like you're 100% confident that you're going to get a result. If you need a video to watch, you guys can check out Meet the Marketing Genius behind acquisition.com, and it walks you through how to do the memo. If you want to do that, feel free. All right, now that we actually understand the foundations of this, let's get into how to build the damn funnel. So I'm not going to touch on tech stack and assets required quite yet because it's really boring. I want to go through actually building this and give you examples. So the first thing that I want to give a note on, we talked about this a little bit already, but when you are making this first page specifically, what I want you to think through is there's a current version of somebody and then there's a new version of somebody. After they read this landing page, your goal should be, how do I reprogram their mind? So some of the things they might be thinking when they go to your landing page, specifically if it's cold traffic, is they're uninformed, they're overwhelmed, they're lacking trust for you or anybody that they're looking to buy from. They're scared, they're confused, and they have major pain right now. So if you know that and you cater to that, the whole goal is after they read the landing page and they go through that first page, the new them is going to have a clear solution, trust that you were the one to help them. They're going to have relief knowing that they can actually solve the problem and a burning desire to solve it right now. That's the goal. So they went from scared over here to freaking Jordan Belfort living on top of a mountain over here, right? Good frame to think about this. So with that said, I'm going to walk you through this first page. So this is your main landing page. So if somebody's going through an ad, they're going through organic content, they click a link, this is where they're going to land. So some examples of what this would look like is a page like this, a page like this, or a page like this, right? So it's going to be VSL, headline, sometimes subheadline, some social proof, and then a CTA, see if you qualify. And I'm going to walk you guys through all of this. Some other examples, you guys have obviously seen Hormozy, most of you. Headline, subheadline, VSL, and then CTA, right? Super straightforward. So what we typically like to do on this hero page, this is what this is called, is focus 80% of our execution on the headline. And the reason that that's so important is because if you are not directly calling out the consumer when they go to that page, you have already lost them. On average, you have 5 seconds, specifically for cold traffic once again, you have 5 seconds to captivate them with this hero page, which most of the time what they're going to see when they first open it on their phone or on their computer is going to be cut off right here. So they're going to see whatever's up here, your headline, subheadline, VSL, and then CTA. That's what you've got. So this is extremely, extremely, pardon my French, but fucking critical. And if you do not nail this, your conversions are going to suffer. So David Ogilvy said this, and this is something we've lived by. Essentially, once you've written your headline, you spend 80 cents of your advertising dollar. So if you know that, that's why we talked about spending 80% of time on building the headline, right? And you can do multiple and you can split test to be clear. But if you cannot directly call out and speak to the person that you're trying to sell to, again, going back to the memo, you don't understand their problems. And so you need to fucking nail that down, otherwise everything else is not going to do great. So a great way to think about this page is this is the hook. So if you make a piece of content, if you don't have a great hook, people aren't going to watch the rest of the content, right? If you have a really good hook in your ad, people are going to watch, they're going to stay retained, they're going to watch more of the ad. If you don't have a good hook, then people aren't going to scroll to the rest of your landing page. They're not going to see the social proof. They're not going to see all the other stuff that's on here, which means they're not going to take a next step, which means you don't get the lead, right? So that's the importance of this. You need to fucking nail it. So my recommendation, I'll give you some examples of how to actually build this page, is you want to do a logo up top. You want to do social proof right here. And by the way, I want to be very clear when I say this. As a marketer, I need to be very true in saying that you need to split test damn near everything. I don't really believe in a lot of shoulds. I think people say you should do this, you should do that. There are times and rules where that is okay, but overall within marketing, there are tools on a tool belt that you need to choose to test, right? And all of them technically could work. You need to figure out what works for you and what you sell. And so when I'm talking about some of these things, just know you can test. This is a very, 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 very good foundation for you, but ultimately you can always run a split test and see what converts. You want to measure one thing at a time. With that said, though, this is the layout for you. So logo up top, name of your company. You're going to do social proof, and I want to be very clear when I say social proof. You do not want to put generic things that are not believable. So you want to use either platforms or some form of a visual that people will believe, or a link so people can click on it. So if it's Trustpilot, people know what Trustpilot is, right? That's a believable source. If they click on it, they can actually go read through their reviews. That's a phenomenal way to do this. You could also do Google, right? This is more like e-commerce based stuff, but you could also do this if you have a really big company. You could do Google reviews, and people can click on it. You want to put total amount of reviews, the actual ratings, things of that nature. If you don't have those, you could put something like this. This is okay. Based on 1,500 plus reviews, 21,800 plus women transformed. As long as you have verifiable social proof later down in the landing page, this is okay to do. So in any case, social proof's going to go here. Then you're going to do your headline, big bold headline, right? And then you're going to do your sub headline. These two tie together. So as an example, let's go with this one. I shut down my 50K a month service business, turned it into an online course that made 4.2 million in 24 months. Now I help six-figure coaches, consultants, and agency owners escape one-to-one and scale with online courses. This is the transformation, right? You're calling out pain point or something of that nature, and then the sub-headline is going to tie to that headline. So there's a couple different ways you could do this. You could do a question-based headline, which someone that does that is Ramosi. So are you the thing limiting your business? Are you the biggest bottleneck in your business? That's one. You could also do something that's more transformational based. You could also do a guarantee. Those are the main ones that we use. So here's another example. Systemize your company for peace and scale, right? You're calling out something that the consumer wants. A proven operating system to remove yourself from operations, grow a founder-led brand, and scale with clarity. They have a lot of information clear on their consumer. They know what they want. So this calls them out, and then this talks about the transformation. Really good way to do that, just to keep it very simple. Here's more of a guarantee-based one. This one's from Daniel Iles. 1 million views or you don't pay. They know that that's what the consumer wants. They've split tested. They know that from their ads as well. So if somebody sees an ad that says 1 million views you don't pay, and then they go to this landing page, 1 million views you don't pay, it's contextual, which is really important, and we can talk about that later. And then he doesn't do a sub-headline. They probably tested it, and just know that that's what works better and converts the best. They just go straight to a VSL. So I recommend that you do the sub-headline until you've done a ton of testing. And if you find that you're spending, in Daniel's case, $1 million a month, and you know that this converts better, then go that route, right? This goes back to the split testing. But if you don't, you use the space that you've got. After you figure these two things out, then you're going to put your VSL. Now, a VSL, I'm going really deep here. You want to cater this to your audience. So if your ICP, the person that you sell to, your ideal customer, is rich, meaning like they make a lot of money, their time is consumed, and they don't have a lot of it, you need to treat that as such. So you don't want a 40-minute VSL because that person's more than likely not going to watch it. I'd love to be proven wrong. I'm just telling you from what we've actually tested. Those people are extremely busy. They do not have time to watch a 40-minute VSL. Now, if you run a webinar, a little bit different, right? They're opting in. They know it's going to be a longer process, but it's live. But with the VSL, if it's a more affluent demographic, typically you want to keep it shorter. So I would say between 4 to 5 minutes, nothing longer than that, where you give them enough information to the point where they feel comfortable booking a call and trusting you to actually, solve their problem. They're looking for quick solutions. They have the money. They just want to know that you're the person to solve it. If it's more of a less affluent, less educated demographic, let's just call it, you want to give them more information, right? You want to make sure that they have everything that they need. So you could do let's call it a 10-minute VSL all the way up to like a 40-minute VSL, and you can test this. And if you're going to go that route, sometimes I recommend doing a free training funnel or a squeeze funnel is what that's called, where you get them to opt in first, and then once they've opted in, you collect the information, then they get access to the free training. That's a little bit better route typically, but you can also do it with the VSL, and again, you can test, right? The market's going to tell you what they want. So with that said, now that you know the length of the VSL, what you want to put beneath this typically is some form of social proof. So that, and this isn't great, I want to be clear, I'll give you a better example, is you want something that people can verify the source once again. So anybody could put, like, I've worked with Verizon or I've worked with Bigger Pockets, anybody technically could put that on their page. Will they get sued? Maybe. But a lot of people will do that. And so something that you can do is you can put the review that they left, if they did leave one. You can put how many stars they left on a review, or anything that can verify that they actually gave it to you. So if it says something about your company, let's say you worked with Red Bull, and Red Bull's like, X company got phenomenal results for us, love working with them. You would technically want to put that right here or somewhere on the landing page, so people can verify that you actually did this. Another way that you can do this is if you work with, let's say that you're like a B2B agency, you can put like a photo of the person that you worked with their Instagram handle, their YouTube handle, and whatever business they run. That's another really good example because that's verifiable. And that's something that we've used, and that works really well because if people know who that person is or that individual, then immediately social proof's baked in. They can go to their Instagram, they can see that they actually got results, they can go through their funnel. In our case, because we build the funnels, we do the marketing, so on and so forth. So this really depends on what you sell, but anybody watching this, if you're going to rip a VSL funnel, you're probably selling something high ticket, I would hope. And you're more than likely B2B, some of you might be B2C, but what you want to do is just make it verifiable, just like simply put, and we'll give more examples of that in the future. What's going to go beneath this is going to be a CTA button. Now the CTA button just literally like moves them forward to the next process. So if it's an application they're going to fill out, you want to put that, like apply to work with us. If it's book a call, then you can go that route too, right? Whatever you feel, and you can test once again, is going to push the consumer forward, and it's what they want. That's what you want to put as a CTA button. Don't overthink it. It doesn't need to be too complicated. Now, next thing is the application form. I want to be really clear. There are many different ways to do this. So you can use platforms like Go High Level. You can use HubSpot if you have HubSpot. You can use Typeform. You can use Jotform. You can use just about anything that you can think of. The goal here is how do we reduce friction so that the consumer can get through this process quicker and more efficiently. So something that we typically like to do now is use an app called iClosed. And an example of this would look like this right here. So you see Powered by iClosed. What you can do is you can just embed this onto your main landing page so that there's less steps for the consumer. Because if you don't go this route, and let's say you use something like a Go High Level form, which is something like this, or you use, I think they use Jotform or Typeform and they embed it, you can go that route, and then you can embed Calendly, which is the calendar booking app. But if you go that route, typically it's going to split on this page and it's really small, and it can work. So like you'd fill out the application, you click enter, and then instead of going to another page, which you can do, it would stay on this page and it would split screens. So it would have the application completed, and then it would have like Calendly over here, which is your booking app, and it would walk them through like book your call right here. It's kind of a small window. I don't love it, but it does work. The other thing you can do is take them to a book a call page, which is going to look like this. This does work really well. It's just more steps, and you also take the risk of like load time of that screen, and just potential like actual automation issues of the page loading. So does it work? Yeah, it works really well. We do this for a lot of our clients. But if you can, I recommend keeping everything on one page so that it's less steps for the consumer and it's easier to understand the funnel. So if you need an app to do that, I would recommend using iClosed. It's really, really good. And it's worked really well for us. We use that internally. So you can do that, or again, you can use things like Go High Level. You can use HubSpot if you use HubSpot. You can use Typeform and Calendly. Those two integrate together. You can use Jotform and Calendly, I believe. And you can make any of those work. I just wanted to give you some options. So that would be the process. So someone clicks the CTA button, they go to fill out the application. And if you want to embed this, you can use something like what Daniel uses, where he just has it all listed out. If you're going to go this route, I recommend that you do it in stages. And what I mean by that is if somebody fills out their name and their email, then it would populate the rest of these questions. Because if you just slap this on a page, granted theirs is pretty short, but if you have a lot of questions and you just like are showing that on the main landing page, one, it's going to take up a lot of space, but two, it's really overwhelming for the consumer. So you want to be careful that you're not getting them to commit to too much, especially on cold traffic. So it can be better to just have like a couple questions and then display the rest. The other thing I would say is the shorter you can keep this, the better, because it's going to increase conversions typically. With that said, you got to test, right? If you have a really, really niche offer and you have a lot of friction that you need to induce to make sure you get qualified leads coming through your funnel, you might need more questions. We've seen people that have as much as like 25 questions, I think is the most I've seen, or 30. And their application to book a call rate was wild. It was crazy. It was like 75% of people that started the application would finish it and then book a call, which is really, really good. So again, you got to test, you got to figure it out. But I just want to give you guys some options as to what you can use. So now that you have those, you can go test and figure out what's going to work best for you. Next is going to be your social proof page. So social proof, we'll just break it down. The goal of social proof page is the following. You want to show the consumer that real humans went through a real process and got real results. If I'm just keeping it like as bare bones as possible. There are a handful of ways that you can highlight social proof that I've outlined in the example section. So if one company were to claim the following, take this magic pill, you'll be able to walk on water with zero social proof. Obviously nobody's going to believe that, and nobody can walk on water from what we know. But if there's another person that said essentially the exact same thing, but they have 15 videos of people doing it live and actually being able to walk on water, the second company goes from sounding insane to dominating the market because the human mind can actually conceptualize the concept behind what you're saying. They're going, I can trust this company because I saw somebody actually did it. And like think of Steve Jobs as an example, right? Everybody thought he was nuts when he said he could make a computer, and then he did it, and people were like, holy shit. And then they became the person that dominated the market. Obviously, walking on water is an extreme example, but the whole point here is once a human has social proof, their brain clicks and they go, holy crap, this is possible. That's the goal of the social proof page, is like other humans went through this process and they got results. So you want to have a headline. You don't have to say social proof, obviously. You could put like, hear from the people we've worked with, or here's some other examples. Real results from real people, real results from real properties. You can do case studies, things of that nature. And then what you want to do in this is you have a few different ways you can actually highlight the social proof. You can do things like before and afters. So I'll give you an example of that. I think I have one over here. Yep, here's one right here. So before and after, this is more content based, but you would actually show screenshots if you can of where they were, and then after they worked with you, where they are now. You could also break this down in a case study. I can show you an example. You can do things like this, where you actually take like your Discord, your Slack, whatever channels you use, screenshot the native page of what somebody said, because you can't fake this. I mean, if you really worked at it, I guess you could. And then who they are. So Kevin, construction scaling coach. And then what Kevin said it directly from your Slack. Another one is you do video case studies or testimonials, where you actually get onto a call with the individual and you interview them. And this is a really raw, authentic way to do this, and people love it. Are they going to consume all of it? Some will, some won't, but it's a really good thing to have on there if you can do it. Again, Jared, plumbing coach, like you're saying what they do, and then ideally some highlight. So I turned off 60K a month in ads, and I'm way more profitable from content, is what he's saying here. So really good breakdown of that. You can do stuff like case studies, depending on what you sell. So if you open this up, it would go to a video. You can break down exactly what you did for your client or for the person that you work with. You can obviously have them directly, where it's just the individual. It's not necessarily an interview. And then some glimpse of what they're going to say there. Allison Craft, you have a photo of her. Obviously, you're going to see a lot more within that video. You can do things like this. Similar format, so headline, 5 stars, actual video case study, some snippet of the video, a picture of the individual, and then what they do. That's a lot of social proof baked into one little screenshot. So these are all examples of what you can use. These are just tools on the tool belt. And my recommendation is that you make it as believable as possible by actually sharing who the person is, what they do if it's a business that they run, and the exact result that they individually got. So just some recommendations there, but you can pull from any of these examples. Another thing you can do is actual screenshots. So, like photo screenshots. So you can do something like this, where it's headline, exactly what they said in a little bit longer format, and then again, photo the person, and then what they do. So like, what is their business? And if you can link to their Instagram, or you can link to their business, that's even better. I would recommend that you do that if you have approval from the individual. So that is social proof. Next is your problem. So the problem page is really important because, again, if you can better explain the issue or the problem that your consumer is going through, then they're going to think that you have the solution. So this page is really, really, really important. And there's a couple different ways that you can do this. So I'm going to map out a couple. So you can do something like the 3 reasons you're still stuck, if it's 3 reasons, if it's 5 reasons, whatever. And you want to map out what those 3 biggest pain points are. And the key thing here is you want to say it in the consumer's language, not your language. What are they saying? And so if you need to go do research, I recommend that you go to Reddit. If you're selling something high ticket, these are the best places to go. You're going to go to Reddit, you're going to go to YouTube comments, you're going to go to Instagram comments, you're going to go to, depending on like, I actually wouldn't go to Amazon because it's more e-commerce based stuff. But if you can find something similar to your product, then you can go there. But those are going to be the biggest ones. Like I said, Reddit threads are going to be really important because you can see good reviews, bad reviews, competitors, and go to your competitors' reviews too. And you want to look for 3-star reviews. 3-star reviews are the people that are saying like, I wanted this, I didn't get what I wanted, and here's what I didn't get. So that's really good feedback for you. And you're going to pull from all those, and you're going to make a whole list of what people are saying. You're going to find the commonalities, and you're going to speak their language, right? Literally within your landing page. It's super important that you do that. So this is an example. You can do 3 reasons why you're still stuck, and then you can do the solution beneath that. Another thing you can do is something like this, which is what the top 1% sales reps in this case do, that average sales reps don't. Average sales rep that works with XYZ company. And you're literally just going to like show contrast, bad, good. And this is a really good way to do this quick. So those are 2 different ways you can go about this page for a problem. What you want to do here is just call out whatever you're going to highlight. So again, in this case, 3 reasons why you're still stuck, what we do differently than other companies, anything of that nature. And then if you want to attach a subheadline, that would be something like this. Top closers don't wing it, they operate with precision. Whatever you want to say there, it just ties to this, you can do that. So I'll just give you an example of what actually, or not an example, but a breakdown of what the problem highlight page is for. It's to let the consumer know that you understand their pain, and not only do you understand it, but you can better articulate it than they can. And this proves to the consumer that if you deeply understand their pain, the more likely you are to have a solution to it. So the other thing that we are going to do psychologically is create a gap for the consumer. And so maybe they haven't thought about what you're going to talk about this way, but when you say it, immediately there's a gap of like, oh yeah, that is me. And if you create the gap, then they think immediately, I need this solution. And if you're the person that creates the gap, they know that you can also bridge it. Typically, that's the psychological anchor that is happening here. So with that said, what you're going to do next is go through, there's a few different things you can do here. This is the way we break it down. We call it the process page. And so I'll break this down first and we'll go through the rest. The goal of the process page is the following. Walk the consumer through exactly what they will be getting and how the process works. Because confusion, if they don't understand it, equals drop off. Especially as you go to cold traffic. If this is not warm traffic, you get one shot. I promise you. If you're super lucky, you might get two, but it's going to take a long time for them to come back. So the clearer we are, the higher the conversions are going to be. You want to be very clear, speak in basic language, read at a 5th grade level, nothing higher in my recommendation, and make sure that they can understand it first time reading it. This page also solidifies that you have the solution to the stated problem from the page above, and it ties everything together, bridges the gap. So what you can do here is just some examples. So up above we saw 3 problems, the same page. Right beneath that it goes what's included, what you get within NEP community, and NEPQ, excuse me. And then it's going to break down exactly what you get. Super straightforward, right? The consumer already knows. Here's another example from Founder OS, really good company. What you'll get in Founder OS Velocity, exact things that you're going to get. And they probably did these because from their reviews, this is what the consumer loved the most, right? So they know exactly what people are wanting to get. Acquisition.com, this one's super straightforward, but this is for their workshops. So ACQ directors, ACQ framework, 3 to 5 tactical next steps. This is probably what people wanted. This is what they got from feedback. So that's why we put it on this page. Another one, our system breaks down exactly what they do. Super straightforward. Yeah, so those are some examples of what you guys can do. Again, don't overcomplicate this. Just literally explain what your process is and keep it basic. Don't make it super overwhelming. Don't make it super confusing. I know you think it sounds smart, but the consumer doesn't get it. And this isn't about you, it's about the consumer. So whatever's going to get you the best conversions and keep things very clear, that's what you need to bias toward. Next is going to be frequently asked questions. So the goal of an FAQ page is the following. Answer the most common questions that are going through a consumer's head. These should be the most common questions that come up during your sales process or your sales calls, the biggest objections that you're going to get, and then anything that you've pulled from like reviews or from case studies, if you will. That's what you want to put on this page. So all you're going to put is frequently asked questions or our most common questions, your questions answered. If you want to add a subheadline, you can, and then it would just look something like this. This is actually ours internally. So who this is for, what exactly you do, how fast will I see results, whatever you feel is a good fit here. Obviously that's what you want to put. And then last is your disclaimer page. This is just to protect yourself. If you guys need an example of what one looks like, just go to acquisition.com, or you can go to our page too, and you can scroll down to the bottom and you'll see it. This can vary depending on like is ads going to that page as an example. You want to have a meta disclaimer sometimes. So yeah, obviously consult, make sure that you have the right information on this page to protect your business, but this can be a variety of different things. Ultimately, it's to protect you, so just note that. Next, we're going to go through your book a call page. So like I talked about over here, this would be if you're going to go the route of doing an application on this page and then sending people to a separate landing page, which is going to be a book a call page. This does work very well. I want to be clear. This is like standard operating procedure for us. We just go the other route of using iClosed, which is this app. A couple examples. If the client uses it or if it's something that they want to do. This can also be a benefit for their sales team because you can rank leads. You can also qualify them from a credit standpoint. So there's many different benefits to going that route, but I want to show you guys this route if you want to do it. This is a really like low friction way to build this funnel, and again, it works very, very well. So a book a call page, I'll just break this down for you guys first. The goal of a book a call page is the following. At this point, a consumer has filled out their application. We just need to give them a very clear instruction on next steps, which is booking the call. So this page should have a headline that tells them what to do, as well as a widget, which is going to let them know what part of the process they're in. So like they're making progress, so on and so forth, and the step that they're going through. There should be nothing else on the page that distracts or confuses the consumer, just the task at hand. So an example of this, I'll show you guys a page. Pick a time that works for you, select a 30-minute slot below, and we'll send a confirmation with everything that you need. And then right here, they're going to book their call. So a couple ways you can build this. I'll just give you some examples. is you're going to have your headline. So book your call headline. That could be book your call below. Pick your time for your call, whatever you feel is fit. If you feel you need to add a sub-headline, you can add a sub-headline. If you're finding that people are coming to this page and they're dropping off, you can add a timer widget. This is like just a psychological thing. This shouldn't just be added, like you want to add it if it's needed. But what you would do is add a timer. So you could set it for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, so that you induce some like FOMO of if I don't book this call, I'm screwed, so that people don't drop off and then never come back to the page. So you want to push them forward. So that's a tool that you can use. The other thing that we always recommend doing is a step clarification widget so that the consumer knows what step they're on in the funnel. So if this is step 2 of 3, which in this case it would be, then you would put step 2 of 3. If you want to map it out, so book your discovery call, get your custom property analysis, whatever you want to put here, you could do it in steps like this. You could also do a progress bar. We typically leave this until the next page and I'll break it down, but that can be good too. Anything that's walking them through where they're at. And then what you're going to do right here is you're going to embed your calendar app. So 99% of the time that's going to be Calendly. Sometimes people use something like OneHub. I would recommend that you use Calendly for now. And if you want to go to a different solution in the future, you find something's better and you test it, you could use something like a OneHub. I wouldn't really recommend any other platforms at the moment. Now, to be clear, you can also do this with iClosed. So that's this app that we keep talking about. You can still do a 2-step process where you just have the application on the main landing page, same way you would for like a HubSpot form, Go High Level form type form. And then you could send it to another page, which would be the book a call page. If you want to split test it, feel free. Again, I don't care to be right. I'm just telling you from what we've tested. Less steps, the better typically. But you could also embed the iClosed calendar here if you wanted to, and then people would book their call the same way you would if you're using Calendly. So that's it. This page, super straightforward. The thing I do want to note is that you also should have a DQ page, especially if you're doing decent amounts of volume and the leads are worth a good amount of money to you. If you're brand new, you don't even need this yet. Don't waste your time trying to get this built if you're just trying to get launched, like start getting leads through the door. But if you do have people, a lot of applications, a lot of leads come through, you do want a DQ page. So the way that this would work is when someone fills out their application and they don't qualify based on the qualifications that you've set. So maybe it's like you don't work with people that make anything less than $2 million a year. That would DQ. You want to send them to a page that essentially just walks them through like, hey, you weren't a fit, and I'll give you guys some examples actually. So DQ page, I keep going back to the fundamentals and forgetting. So DQ page, the individual that hits this page has taken time to go through your funnel, fill out their information, and for one reason or another, they were not a fit. We need to make sure that we let them know that we appreciate them and give them as much help and resources as we can so that they feel like they're not getting ripped off or wasting their time. A DQ page essentially acts as a way for us to continue to nurture the prospect, give them resources to get them more prepped for the future, and make it a no-brainer for them to come back and work with you when the time is right. So I'll give you an example. Here's one right here. It looks like we are not a good fit for now, but you can still get access to all of our training material completely for free. PS, seriously, it's free. Free training, some additional notes, super straightforward. This isn't the right fit yet, and then some subtext. Watch the video below from our founder, and then beneath that there's some additional resources. This is ours internally. Thanks for applying. We appreciate you taking the time for sharing your information with us. That takes guts and we respect it. Here's the deal. We're not a fit right now. And then beneath this we have free resources for them. This is Hormozy's, the best way to scale if you're under 250K a month, because that was their qualification. Video for Hormozy, a DQ video, join the school games. That's their next CTA and the thing that they want to push people toward. And then from there, you're obviously going to nurture those leads so that eventually they will go back and rebook when they are qualified. So that is the process for a DQ page. Again, don't stress that if you're not making a good amount of money and you don't have a lot of volume. If you are and you feel that it's needed, then obviously add it. All right, you guys are doing well. We're almost there. So next is your thank you page. This is very, very critical, and a lot of people miss this step in their VSL funnel. And just funnels in general. We typically will do this for our webinar funnels as well. Challenge funnels, really good to do this as well. Squeeze funnels, like this is just a good page to have, especially for traffic that doesn't know who you are. But even traffic that does know who you are, you need to like really hold your consumer's hand. So a thank you page, or a confirmation page, some people call it, is going to give them complete clarity on next steps. And again, I just did it. I'll just walk you through this. The goal of a call confirm page is the following. Assure the prospect that their call is booked. It's really important. Plus very clear step on what's going to happen next. So you just want to tell them like, hey, you're going to get an email. You're going to have someone from our sales team reach out. I'll walk you guys through it. but it's literally just mapping out every single thing that they should expect. An outline of when their call is going to take place and ideally who they're talking to, if you can. Videos and resources that answer their most common questions or objections. And the next is more social proof to reassure them that they made a great decision. If you think of the consumer, they just went through the time to go through your VSL, go through this entire page, look through your social proof, book a call, you should congratulate them and be like, hey, well done. So what we typically do, small thing, but it is like, we've got a lot of good feedback on it, is a lot of confetti widget. So when people come to this page, it will actually say their name. So it'll say call confirmed headline plus name, or like, John, your call's confirmed, right? So we add that in there, and that will pull from the previous page. So whatever information they filled out here, it will pull from their name. So confetti goes off, and then step clarification, you can put step 3 of 3. You can put also something like your call is only 90% booked, and then you can have the subheadline that says make sure to watch the video below. And that tells them like, oh, if I'm only 90% booked, I need to look through this page. So psychologically, that's why we typically will go that route. And then again, name. So John, your call's confirmed. Subheadline, make sure to watch the video below so that you understand next steps, or whatever you want to put there, right? This is an example of ours. Prepare for liftoff, future partner. It's actually changed. We have a different one now. This is the confetti going off. What you need to know before working with us. Subheadline, watch this before your call. Your call's booked. Your call's only 90% booked. Important next steps. These are just examples to like really walk them through it. You're booked before your call. Watch this video so you can know how to show up prepared. These are all examples, right? Just choose what works best for you. What's going to happen is in this video, it should be like 2 minutes, maybe 3 minutes. Walk them through. Congratulations, just saw you booked your call. Wanted to walk you through next steps so that you have clear expectations and you know exactly what's going to happen. Walk them through it. You can even show in the video like, hey, you're going to be receiving an email from this email. There's a chance that may go to your spam. It may go to your promotions folder. Here's how to pull that out. And if you could, just type confirmed and send that right back. Whatever you need to put in here, right? And this really comes from just getting feedback of like, what are consumers actually going through, or where are you seeing a sticking point? That's what you want to address on this page. So this is a sample for you to use, but ultimately you're going to take all the data that you have and cater to this page. And another reason that this page is really important is because if you have a sales process, which if you're ripping a VSL funnel, you do, you obviously want to make sure that your sales team is getting prepared leads and qualified leads. So the big goal of this is how do we get them the information they need to make a buying decision so that by the time they get to that call, it's not a discovery call. Their most common questions have been answered. They know the next steps. They understand exactly who we are. They have the social proof. That should be a buying call, right? So that's the intention behind it. So some things you can do for your steps is like, I'll give you one right here. Check your email. Be ready to talk strategy. It's a basic one. Check your email. Show up prepared. Bring your questions. Complete this quick pre-call checklist. There's a lot of different things you can do. I can give you a million different examples. I don't want you to overcomplicate it. Just again, list out what the consumer actually needs to do. Super straightforward. Next is who you're going to be meeting with. You don't have to do this, to be clear. Like once you're at volume, it's pretty hard to do, especially if you have multiple salespeople, because the webhooks you have to pull, which is basically like something happens in the funnel, something happens in the background from an automation standpoint, and then it would have to spit out on this landing page. That takes time, and so the load speed can kill your conversions. So I actually don't recommend most people do this, but if you have the tech and you have a developer that can put it in place, it can help just so people know who they're going to meet with. So this would be an example, who you're going to be meeting with, and then it could be, you could also do this too, but if you have a lot of salespeople, it kind of defeats the purpose because they don't know like which one it was. So they're like, oh, I'm looking at all these salespeople, but which one am I talking to? So I wouldn't do that. But you can do something like this. iClose does this. So it will actually show the person that you're going to meet with, which is pretty cool. So it'll say Miles Jones in this case, or whoever your salesperson is. You can do that. Honestly, my recommendation to you is don't worry about this. If you're doing anything less than, call it like 500K a month, I wouldn't focus on this. But as you start to scale and it becomes more cold traffic, we want to do everything that we can to prep the consumer. And so that's why typically we'll try to introduce something from a sales perspective so that the next step is not like, oh, I don't know who I'm talking to, blah, blah, blah. And you can also include this in your back-end selling systems, which I will cover in a second. But again, we want to do as many things as we can, so that's why typically we'll try to introduce something for the salesperson. Next is your breakout videos. I want to be very clear. I'm not claiming to have come up with this because I didn't. I originally learned this from Jeremy Haynes. I've seen other people talk about it, but Jeremy was the one that I learned it from. And really, really good thing to introduce. This helps a ton. So breakout videos, essentially ensure that the prospect has the ability to get all their objections or question answered before they get to the sales call. So whatever you're finding coming up on your sales calls where people are having objections, they're asking common questions, that's what you'd put on this page. And this essentially helps the prospect, like we talked about earlier, show up to the call prepared, right? Because we don't want them just showing up, asking a bunch of discovery questions and wasting the salesperson's time. All those things should already be noted before they get there. And then it's like straight to the point, like, hey, why are you here? Essentially, right? Like, what are you looking to solve? And then you have an actual sales conversation. So one other thing I would note here is it also builds trust with the prospect. Like, a lot of organizations try to hide everything until the sales call takes place. And everyday consumers are like a lot more wary of this because trust is just at an all-time low. Like, everybody's trying to steal something or take something or hide something. So people want transparency. This process is going to help you do that by you just being really honest in these in these breakout videos. So a way to do this is ours, is you put a headline, so like why we're different, and then just like directly play it. A note for you guys, I should have mentioned this earlier, is for all of your videos, so this video, your thank you video, your VSL, you want to be putting those on a platform called Vitalytics or Wishta. And I actually do walk through that over here, but I just wanted to note that right now. So that you can track watch time and you can see who's actually viewing the videos. Really important. Because what you'll notice is if you have 10 breakout videos and only 4 of them are getting the majority of the plays, that would tell you that the rest of the 4 don't really matter that much typically. And so you should come out with other things that you're getting feedback from your sales process and put them here. And you just test it. So that's an example. Here's another one. Same thing. There's just not a photo of the person. Another example. So keep it straightforward, like headline, what they're actually watching, and then obviously embed the video. Keep it super straightforward. I recommend you keep these between 30 to 90 seconds. I wouldn't do anything much longer than that, otherwise it becomes really overwhelming, and we're asking the consumer to watch through quite a bit. Make sure that it's good though. Like, if it needs to be 3 minutes, totally fine. It's better that it's higher quality than you trying to shortcut it. So just a note on that. All right, 2 more and then we're done here. So social proof page. Social proof page is essentially what you had on the other page. So on this part of the funnel, when you introduce your social proof, it's the same stuff. If you have other things you want to add that you feel would be better suited here, you can do that. So if it's different social proof, feel free to put it here. If it's the same stuff, that's totally fine. And the reason that we're going to do that is because sometimes people will not look at it on this page. So we want to add it again so that after they book the call, they go through it. The intent's way higher after they book the call. So typically what you're going to find is they're going to go through all the information on this page and they're going to look through it. Then last is disclaimer page. Again, you can add it on here if you need it. If you don't need it, then don't worry about it. Now, the other important part of this is back-end selling systems. I'm not going to cover it in this video because it's a whole different thing, but it ties into what happens post-call booking. So you want to have a very specific sales process. You want to have a very specific email process, which is essentially going to be everything that you covered here should be going into emails, right? And you want to hammer people with information because, again, they might not view it here, they might not view it here in the case that they don't, but they might view it through the email. So as many shots on goal as we can get to get them to consume the information, that's what we want to do, and that's the importance of it. If you add this step in and the back-end selling systems properly, the emails and the sales process, you're going to see a huge bump in show rate and also a huge bump in close rate. Obviously, close rate's a little bit hard to track when you introduce this because it can be a lagging indicator. You can have a long sales cycle, so on and so forth. Show rate's very easy to track. If you had this, if you didn't have this and then you tested with it, you'd see a huge bump in show rate. Same thing for the back-end selling systems. So with all that said, we're going to rip through the tech stack for the funnel and then the assets required, and then you're going to have everything that you need to go build a crazy converting VSL funnel. And now you understand the psychology behind it, why those pages are being built, and the importance of them. So front end, what the prospect sees and interacts with, your landing page, you can build in Go Ahead Level or HubSpot. Your video hosting, like I just talked about, you can use Wishta or you can use Vitalytics. Those are the 2 best in my opinion. If you're looking for something a little bit less expensive, I would go with Wishta. Vitalytics has a little bit more analytics, which is great, but you don't need that unless you're doing crazy revenue numbers, in my opinion, and you're focusing on retargeting. Otherwise, go with Wishta. Forms and applications, you can use Go High Level native forms, HubSpot native forms, Typeform, Jotform, or iClosed. Those are the ones that we recommend. That's what we've tested across all of our clients. Calendar booking app or software, you can use iClose like we talked about, Calendly, and OneHub. Those are really the main three. Anything outside of that can work. I know there's some other platforms now that integrate with like sales CRMs. So if you have something that you like, go for it. These are just typically the best. Back end. So what happens behind the scenes? So your CRM, Go High Level, HubSpot, Salesforce, Close.io, Close.com rather, Pipedrive. Those are usually platforms that people are going to use if they're using this funnel. If you can, try to keep everything in one. If you like, ideally, like HubSpot, if you could, because you can integrate your marketing systems and your sales systems. Go High Level gets a little clunky once you're over like 500K a month in revenue. This is what we've seen. And then obviously you can integrate one of these CRMs with the sales CRM, like Close.com, Close.io, or Pipedrive. That's where things get a little bit clunky and you're going to have a ton of zaps and things are going to break. So if you can keep everything in one platform, usually that's ideal. Email and SMS, Go High Level, HubSpot, ActiveCampaign, Klaviyo, ConvertKit, MailChimp. Those are all platforms you can use for email. SMS you can just do through your actual CRM. A lot of you aren't going to be doing SMS unless you're trying to like automate and you want to use Blue text messages through like Blue Send or something like that. You can go that route, but if you are able to, try to keep that process manual for as long as you can, because it's just going to be a little bit more organic for the consumer. And also, if you are trying to automate with green text messages, no bueno. Your open rate's going to suck, and people just don't like seeing green text messages. I'm sorry to the Android users. So some notes there. Marketing automations and workflows, high-level workflows, HubSpot, Zapier, Make.com, N8N, all things that you can use for your automations or building out workflows. Typically, you're not going to need anything more than Zapier. If you want to get really advanced, you can use things like Make.com or N8N. Most of you are not going to need that though. Attribution and tracking, obviously you can use Go High Level, you can use HubSpot, you can use your actual CRM for the source tracking. Usually it's limited on what you can track. It's getting a little bit better. UTM parameters, obviously that's built into all your URLs for your ads if you're running ads. You've got Google Analytics, Microsoft Clarity. This is really good for your landing page because you can see hotspots. So like when someone's scrolling and stopping, you can see that. So it's also free. So I highly recommend that you guys use Microsoft Clarity. Obviously, you can use stuff like Hyros. That's going to be better for like high ticket, long sales cycles. Wicked Reports, more e-commerce based stuff. Cometly, Facebook Conversion API, Google Tag Manager, whatever you need to set up attribution so that you can see actual data on the consumer. Really important that you do that. And I highly recommend that you prioritize it, because ultimately it's going to tell you what you should be doing more of and what you should be doing less of. Pixel and conversion tracking. Again, if you're not running ads, this doesn't matter, but if you are running ads, some things to note here. Domain, DNS records, GoDaddy, Namecheap, Cloudflare, Google domains. We talked about making sure that obviously you own your domain, and then obviously you want to make sure that you're noting disclaimers. This is really what this covers, so just take some notes here if you need to. A lot of times if you're using Go High Level or HubSpot, these things are built in, so you just need to do it through the platform. So that is your tech stack. Now the actual assets required. So video assets, you're going to need your VSL, you're going to need your thank you video, and you're going to need your breakout videos. Again, just to remind you, VSL goes here on the main page. Your thank you video is going to go here after somebody books call, and then your breakout videos are going to go down here, which are going to handle the most common objections. Next, zoom in here, is going to be your copywriting. So headline, subheadline, body copy, CTA buttons, forms and applications, application form questions. You need to figure out what you're going to actually ask in those and how you're going to disqualify a consumer. Is there a downsell or upsell? If yes, you obviously need to get access to that and make sure it's integrated into the funnel. Email and SMS, email sequences, nurture and follow-up, no-shows, SMS sequences for the sales team, all those things for sales purposes, but also for the marketing related stuff with back-end selling systems. You want to make sure that you have all that built. I'll cover that in a future video. Social proof and trust, client testimonials, guarantees that you can use, any other social proof, brands you've worked with, companies help, so on and so forth. Scheduling and sales. Calendar booking link. So this is just like, if you're trying to build this is all the stuff you're going to need. That's why I have it noted. So calendar booking link, list of sales teams, full names, call routing rules. So like if there's multiple reps, who gets which lead and how are you actually ranking that? So if you use something like iClose, you can build it in that platform. So like if a qualification of a lead is X, it goes to this closer or this setter. You can set all those rules. And you can do that with other platforms. I just found iClose is really good. Brand and design, so brand assets, brand images and B-roll, privacy policy terms, favicon, which is like the little image for your actual website, headshots, founder photos if used on the funnel, tracking and attribution. Obviously, if you're building this, you need access to all this stuff, and then automations. So this is more so to prep, like if you're a business owner and you're trying to hire somebody, to like just note this is all the stuff you're going to need if you want someone to build the funnel for you. Or if you're a marketing agency and you're trying to like find a better way to send what you need, here's like a full breakdown. All right, so with that said, you guys are now have gone through pretty much what I would call a masterclass or a college course on a VSL funnel. I hope that this was helpful. I would like for you guys to drop in the comments below. So just to recap, you now understand what a funnel is, the psychology behind it, and what we're actually doing, how you're going to execute on this, 80% but toward the 20% of execution, and then the full process. You know exactly what you need. You know exactly the layout. You understand why you're building what you're building on each of these pages. And this is going to lead to crazy conversions for you. So if you have any questions, I want you to drop them down below in the comments. If you learned something new, I want you to drop that down below too, please and thank you. And if there's anything that I didn't answer that you want answered, drop it there. Because I'm making these videos for you guys. I want to answer whatever questions you have and add as much value as I possibly can. So make sure to drop that. Make sure to hit the thumbs up. Make sure to subscribe if you're not subscribed. If you guys want to see more daily stuff, you can follow me on Instagram. I'll link that down below in the comments. If you guys do want someone to help you with this, I'm not going to push you toward that, but if you guys do want a company to handle it, obviously this is what we do. So I will drop that link down below if you guys want to apply to work with us. You're going to go through the exact funnel that we just talked about, and I might see you on the other side. I might not, but if I do, I look forward to talking to you, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.